in distress sell their bodies. They turn sex slaves. Gilly becomes the captain Saukar and Millie sells her body to the contractors and supervisors. They lose the right over the body. Their bodies are owned and controlled by contractors, supervisors and Saukar. The tender sweet childhood love is crushed by this form of slavery. In course of time, when Suku, Manya and Tikra have saved enough money to repay the debt, to get back the land they are denied. They lose the court case through other going into reaching the court after the case date. Due to the illiteracy and ignorance of the tribals and mechanism of the Saukar, their accumulated grief and anger burst out at last when the Saukar attacks his brother's self-respect by threatening Mandya to keep even his second sister as kept, challenging him to prevent it. This enraged Mandya, who instantly attacks Saukar with axe and is joined by Tikra and Sukula. They protest by the three tribals at coastal levels, but their protest embodies the community sentiment. Here at that point of time, the past, the present and the future all come together. An individual and community become one. The rage of entire Adivasi community is channelized through them. They are friendly, go on hacking the Saukar as though purchased by the Kalisi. Some dark inscrutable force believed and worshipped by Parada. So Kalisi is a cultural figure in Adivasi society. They are all thus transformed into a supernatural force or superhuman force. In a trance they carry the severe head and surrenders before Hanabam and makes the confession. The Hanabam is startled and entire elite society is startled to witness this naked display of the power of emotions. There is another literary work which can also describe as an intertext of this novel, Varada. That is Bhagavati Charan Pandya's story, Sikar. Your Sikar ends with a tragic irony. With the severe head of Saukar, Hinua surrenders before the commissioner and demands price for killing a tiger. Till the time of hanging, he continues to believe that the government will give him a reward when he is taken to the gallows. It's a kind of ceremonial procession that he is taking part. But the ultimate act of Mandya, Sukku and Tikra, is straight and direct. This marks the cultural journey the text has made in the changing time and the next work I like to discuss is Mahasat Devi's Chuti Munda and Taro towards subaltern solidarity. Mahasat is dedicated social worker and activist who stayed with Adivasis, worked for them in the interior parts of jungle, to raise concerns and them, make them self-reliant through constructive works and led many protest movements against injustice. This novel is a product of involvement in Adivasi cause, exclusive what can be called the subaltern consciousness. The term subaltern as coined by Antonio Gramsci refers to the social excluded class including movement, which was, according to Gayatri Chakravarti's Bharat, is determined by and controlled by the dominant group and the culture. It has been historical determinants. Hence, he says the subaltern cannot speak. If he speaks the language of the dominant. But Mahathir and Devi disproves the notion in the past. That obsession of tribal consciousness expressed in organized mass uprising called Ulgulanas. Varada is not informed by any Ulgulan narrative, as by that time there have not any such mass movement of tribals known as that. In his earlier novel, Aranya Adhikara, which I have already referred to, is Saka Birsa Munda, with whom Choti Munda is connected through teacher-disciple relationship or teacher-disciple transcendence. At Birsa's close associate Dhani Munda later becomes Choti's archery teacher. Paramyar Adhikar is directly intertextually related to Choti Munda in that sense. Choti Munda is shown as inheriting the heroic culture of Birsa Munda. Incidentally, Choti's father's name is Birsa Munda. He is Birsa Munda, but his father's name is Birsa Munda. Akin to Birsa. While Ultra's under the leadership of Birsa was against colonial government, continued from the last part of the 19th century to the first decade of the 20th century. Choti Munda's career spans the colonial and post-colonial period, as I have already mentioned. So his report is to see against the background of tribal reports. Choti Munda's acts is replaced by a hero in Choti Munda acts is replaced by Abo. Choti is exporting archery. His aim is so sure and unerring that legend has grown around him that he possesses magic arrow. With some truth and some rumors, the legend has been built up. It's a mixture of individual excellence and collective fantasy. But Choti doesn't try to counter this rumors, he rather allows it to grow, spread, and let himself back in the real and imagined glory of his own heroism. Maybe interesting to point out that Mundas have no script, story and song become the history. So by participating in the story making, he becomes the storyteller, he becomes the history maker. So as Birsa Munda gets transformed into Birsa Bhagavan, Choti Munda is transformed to a magic man with magic arrow. So they are thus linked by limited magic. So there is one character, Dukia, who can be compared with the Mandya. So Choti comes under the influence of freedom movement and Indian idol. He doesn't believe in violence. He wants self-Daroga. He also serves Niratna of the Jamidar with half deaf. He several times from the wheels of running train. When Niratna once calls Armus, son of Choti makes him take back the expression by getting to protest in a condemned manner by picketing his friends. So in the post-colonial period, we say that it finds that there is no basic difference between colonial period and post-colonial period. It's a kind of neo-colonialism. So he doesn't like the path of our oxide, though he expresses that cause. He has given shelter to Quran, the Naxalite on Ram, and also he knows Jugal, a Naxalite eye, keeps contact with the tribal gods. So this situation changes first. National emergency is proclaimed. Youth League members, Romeo and Mohalwan, Dildar start extortion and terrorizing people. Dildar was tried to sexually assault Hasim, wife of Birju Koran, is caught by tribal boys in the darkest night and strangled to death. The bundle level was abolished in 1977. Still then, Europe, supported by the Romeo gang, forces the Adivasi to work as bundle levels. They refuse, resist, and barricade with land. Romeo gang sets fire in the house of the Romeo gang sets fire to the Uram village. So in the darkness of night, Romeo and Koran are shot with poison arrows. They have lost, they lose their arms. But again, they come back with the amputated arms. With one arm, they come and conclude their atrocity. So led by Choti, the mine workers refused to pay costs from their pay. So to the Romeo gang, carry on non-violent resistance. In retaliation, the gang sets fire to Choti village. Houses are burnt, and Choti doesn't react violently. He rather gets down to the task of rehabilitation. So the police in their hunt for the culprits start bombing operations in the villages, subjecting to Adivasis and non-Adivasis to not harassment. Choti comes to know the 4 boys who have killed them and know how they have done it and ask them not to carry anything else. Now they answer the festival at Pushkar. all the villages, tribals, and Akbar's Hindus are asked by Choti to gather in Akbar ground, and there is singing and dancing to the accompaniment of vigorous hitting of Akbars. Choti then comes out and declares that he is the culprit who has killed Romeo and Pahala. Romeo and Pahala were found in the forest, pierced by arrows. I'm quoting the last line. Then wears on arms as wears he mingles all time and becomes human. Folklore, colonial, what only human can be, brings all Adivasi struggle into the present. Today into the united struggle of Adivasi and Africans. The ending is similar to the ending of Baroda, that the transfer into a supernatural power or supernatural force becomes part of the one with elements. So he is transferred into a simple pictorial energy. So even today, so when he is going to surrender, at the very moment the bow with arrows of hands in the hands of thousands of Adivasi go up, aiming at the sky and shouts that no, we take with outstretched hands of low caste people. That is the festive atmosphere of the ending marks celebration of the subaltern solidarity as well as urban taking over leadership. The tribal heroism embodied in Chotimunda anointed artist as the altar self-sacrifice. So the union between Choti and Hita, wife, when husband was conceived, also has been expressed in terms of the union elements. So this is what I have to take because I have already won. So only I have said that the tribal consciousness which encode and disorganized further, that one become engaged in social process and shape and structure in Chotimunda. But what is expressed as isolated individual sentiments comes with a collective organic mass movement. And with Bharma taking over from his father, the text remains open. Further serves as the intertext of Chotimunda and his artwork, as many Adivasi narratives and oral and written are intertext of these texts. That is information.
I'm grateful to Professor Behera that I had to ask to be hurried through his presentation, but I'm extremely sorry about it because we are trying to meet this the deadline that we have set up. So I will now request Dr. Asis to make his presentation, and I will also request him to keep it within 15 minutes.
Very good morning to you. Asis, I'd like to thank the director of this conference, Professor Himanshu Mahabatra, the head of the department, Sanjeev Kumar Das, Dr. Tula, Dr. Mishra, and Dr. for allotting me a space in this 3-day-long international conference. As you know, the title of my presentation is Translating Transformation, Resurrecting the Asurs in Ranendra's Lords of the Global Village. The abstract book contains the abstract of my presentation, and as we have already heard repeatedly that we are running short of time, so I am cutting many more parts of nearly all the elaborations of my paper and just fly over the skeleton. First, I prefer to start my presentation by putting a tricky connection between translation and the cultural impact of globalization, the context of 21st century Indian Anglophone productions. Now, it's a truism that the academic discipline of cultural studies in the 21st century has been permeated with the notion of globalization and its cognate ideas. The eminent American sociologist George Reiser, in the Blackwell Companion to Globalization, offers a composite definition of globalization as an accelerating set of processes involving flows that encompass ever greater numbers of the world's spaces and that lead to increasing integration and interconnectivity among those spaces. Now, as all the all-pervasive spatiality of the term globalization is apparent both in the cultural and the extra-cultural, by extra-cultural I mean political, historical, economic, and emotional domains and debates. So the geography and the counter-geography of globalization find precise exposure in ideas like global village or global city. Now, translation, or more precisely the activity of translating literary texts into global languages, can be seen as an execution of functionalist approach to taking literary works into broader cultural space for purposeful communication with the translation's readership. Translations, Spivak says that translation is the most intimate act of reading, and at the same time, ethically interpreting the ideas or experiences of the texts, often linking the peripheral subject with that of the center. And the eminent French literary critic Pascal Casanova, preceding Spivak in a book, The World Republic of Letters, published in 1999, describes a global system where the literary field is divided by various forms and practices in competition for symbolic capital. Symbolic capital, cultural prestige or value, forming a global hierarchy wherein dominant literatures are positioned above their dominated counterparts. This very power equation between the sorry, I lost the thread. Yeah, just. Let me take the reference to Casanova. In the book Contra Instrumentalism, a translation polemic, the acclaimed theorist of translation, as you know, the acclaimed theorist of translation studies is Lawrence Benecke. And Lawrence Benecke asserts that all translation is an interpretive act that necessarily entails ethical responsibilities and political commitments. Therefore, translation of a literary text is not just a simple, literal, linguistic conversion of an experience from one linguistic code to the other, or from one type of audience to another type of readership who has hardly access to the original natural version. Now I go for a final reference that I have already referred to also in my abstract. This is probably a very late reference, a very recent book, Translating Myself and Others by Jhumpa Lahiri. In that book, she finds translation as a creative art for furthering, I quote, for furthering the essential aesthetic and political mission of opening linguistic and cultural borders and of introducing readers to works they would not be able to access otherwise. Now, what Lahiri finds as the essential aesthetic political mission of opening linguistic and cultural borders here is the idea of transcending the cultural and political boundaries of national literatures to global literatures through the adoption of sociological concepts and methods to foster the cultural impact of globalization. Now, however, before coming to the discussion of the case study of Ravindra's novel, in connection with my presentation, I would like to offer the idea of resurrection. I think this idea of resurrection is very topical to tribal literature because the esteemed audience know that tribalism in India is rather impacted by the theological activity of the missionaries in the colonial period. So there is usually a natural connection between the Christian idea of resurrection and in some way they can be related to the tribal literature and activity. Now, I offer the idea of resurrection first in connection with the activity of translation, both intralingual and cultural, and secondly with the activity of enlivening a specific type of tribal identity that remains almost lost to the public notice. Now let's see how the Christian idea of resurrection works in the tribal context it may save the tribal identity because resurrection is obviously the idea of saving the dead to life. It may save the tribal identity from cultural extinction and offer the life everlasting. Now, as you all know, the gospel of morning worship in the Holy Bible, as it goes, the idea of resurrection has been described in such a language, I quote 5 lines where there is the idea of resurrection in the Bible. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. My proposition in this paper is to view the idea of resurrection as metaphoric of the life everlasting. That is how it fulfills the aesthetic and political-cultural mission of the writer in opening the borders and in introducing the readers to a cultural space hitherto unknown to them. By applying this idea of resurrection, this paper examines the ways in which the subaltern tribal identity of the Ashur community and their Adivasi subjectivities have been resurrected in Ranendra's novel, Lords of the Global Village. Now, my choice of this specific literary work depends on 3 factors. The first factor is the unique tribal identity of the Ashur community as politico-culturally translated by Ranendra in the first original Hindi narrative, Global Gaon Ka Devta. It was published in 2010. The showcasing, my second reason, the showcasing of this Ashur tribal cultural space with all its anxiety of extinction in the face of the economy of globalization, storming out the minor cultures and communities. And now the third reason behind my choice. How the English translation of the narrative expands the scope of the novel and introduces it to the readers without access to Hindi language, simultaneously using a global language. Here the role of the translator is not at all invisible, as Benedict Marx in his book translated as the invisible agent. As the translator employs the most powerful, I'm just drawing this word from The Legacy of the Empire and the All-Powerfulness of English Language, to describe the plight of the powerless tribal community. Now, Ranendra's fictional representation of the Ashur people with their stampeding poverty in this age of global economy can be seen as a political-cultural translation of an anxious tribal cultural space awaiting extinction. Even the state remains indifferent to the Ashur tribals and adds to their plight by deciding over a sanctuary for the wolves, vacating nearly 30 tribal villages. Now, seen through the eyes of the fictional character of a newly appointed school teacher in the area, known as the Master Sahib, the novel becomes a tale of tribal resistance, quite meek and almost mute. The novel is divided into 26 chapters, and from the second chapter to the end of the novel, the narrative centers around the Ashur tribe. Now, the term Ashur in India carries several meanings. Being portrayed in ancient Hindu scriptures and myths as demons and enemies of the god, deserves attention. I quote some short passages from the text. As the narrator Master Sahib confesses in the second chapter, I had already heard that the region was inhabited by Asurs, and had always thought they would be dark-skinned giants with protruding teeth and horns growing out of their heads. Lanchon's looks dispelled that myth. The stories I had heard about them in my childhood seemed like tall tales now. Now, on meeting another person from the Ashur community, his name is Rumjum Ashur, a tribal youth having an honors degree in Sanskrit and the son of a school teacher, the narrator asks him about his ethnic identity. The second name of your people is really astonishing, Rumjum Bhai. Rumjum offers him the 2 options. You are right. The word Ashur reminds you of 2 things. One is the stories of giants, demons and fiends heard during one's childhood. The other is the photographs of long-cloth-wearing Ashur men and bare-breasted women in the 1926, 1946 and 1966 anthropology books. Now you decide, Master Sahib, what we are. Rumjum delves deep into the regio-historical and anthropological connections of the Ashur people with ancient human civilization. The quote. In the ancient Assyrian Babylonian civilization, Ashur meant a strong man. In our civilization too, Sanyacharya has called the Ashurs mighty, enlightened foreslayers and protectors. Around 150 slokas in the Rig Veda treat the Ashurs as gods. Now, the narrator just finds these details from Rumjum, and he realizes that there is the age-old battle between the Shur and the Ashur is still on. The battle that had commenced in the Vedic age, the same battle that thousands of Indras had not been able to end, had now been owned by the deities of the global village. Now I would finish with one particular reference, that the preservation of cultural identity, how it was done, as it was promised in my abstract. The narrator finds certain similarity in different parts of the narrative between Indian practice of racial killing of the tribal people and the well-known instances of genocide from Western historiography, as he relates this local marginal case of violence inflicted on the Asus with the erasure of civilizations in other spatio-temporal frames of the world. Here, how the regional becomes global. I was reminded of the Incas, Mayans, Aztecs, and hundreds of Native Americans from Western Asia. Like them, only a handful of the Asus survived, leading a wretched life, sans culture, sans language, sans literature, sans religion. But perhaps mainstream civilization had persuaded itself the need to consume them. Nonetheless, Master Said strangely notices a rather deliberate